Our last speaker, and thank you, you had a little brief preview, I was going to say, is Tyler Balliet. And Tyler is originally, I think, from Boston, but now he's based in LA. Who wouldn't be? All the sunshine, so it's lovely. And I think this idea about getting people involved is very much what he did. Discovered wine when he was studying in the Pacific Northwest, and he's now basically involved with engaging younger people, let's say people under 30 in wine, and has been described as the prince of Boston's wine revolution through your events mainly, but also as a journalist too. So he's communicating and involving people with events to promote wine. Well. Is it working? Yeah.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Awesome. So, my name is Tyler Balliet, and I run this company called Second Glass. And the whole idea and what we're trying to do is we help educate young consumers about wine so they can make better purchasing decisions. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to tell you a little bit of our company, but before I do that, I kind of want to go through and kind of tell you how we arrived where we are and why we're doing what we're doing. We originally started the company, well actually technically, we say we started it 5 years ago, but I really started it about 7 years ago at some print publication. That didn't really pan out. We started doing events. We now throw huge events all over the United States. We do 6 events, about 2,000 to 3,000 people, and they're really fun, and I will show you a ton of photos. But before I do that, let's kind of dive in. I just wanted to let you guys know, like, since a lot of people might not know who we are, we've been getting a lot of press, which is really exciting. We were like Inc. Magazine 30 for 30, Wine Enthusiast was really stoked about us. We've been in most major news publications. So like, it's cool, we're getting a lot of press, and people are starting to like actually catch on, which wasn't originally the case when we first started. Alright, so when we started this company, we really wanted to look at who it was we were trying to reach. And you know, in the United States, we have the millennial generation, right? Technically, it's anyone born between 1980 and 2000. There's 70 million of them in the United States, and I feel like this generation and this like term gets tossed around all the time, and it's never really actually defined by anybody. And you know, especially when I go speak in, you know, in Napa, and I go speak in New York and whatnot. Everyone says, "Oh yeah, we have these millennials. They're really, you know, they just talk about themselves all the time. And they just want everyone to pay attention to themselves and all this kind of stuff." But I wanted to really look at like who these people are, which I'm one of them, and what actually makes them different. So I really don't think that, you know, being born in this age group really necessarily makes you a millennial. So I've come up with this way of kind of like defining it. And it basically has a lot to do more with culture than anything else. And you look at this group of people, and they don't. We're different. We're not, you know, we look at the world differently, we communicate differently, and it kind of comes down to these 3 things. And millennials can really be broken down into 3 categories. First and foremost, like, we don't know what the world is like without the internet. Have absolutely no idea. For my entire life, I've had, you know, all human history has been at my fingertips. I could go back to this janky old computer and figure it out. And I think that's really important because like we're not excited when we see information. We expect it. If it doesn't exist, we're like it doesn't even compute. We don't even figure that out. The next category is people that don't understand the world without mobile phones, and I kind of fall into that. But I remember not having a cell phone and having to like meet up with friends, and it was really challenging. But there are massive amounts of people that don't even know what the world would look like without a mobile phone. And then lastly, this new group is really the people that don't know what the world looks like without internet on their phones. What? I can't get the information I need right this second? And I think when you're looking at, like, when you're dealing with millennials and when you're looking to especially sell or market to them, I think it's incredibly important to keep this in mind, that they're actually they're looking at the world in a different way. Because of course, like, we have information. And it really brings it down to this. It's information sorters versus information seekers. All previous generations of the world have been information seekers, right? I came here to London, and in the past, you'd have to, like, maybe go to a bookstore in the States and, you know, be like, I'm I'm going to London. Can you recommend a guidebook so that I can eat at restaurants that are good? And you'd have to like, maybe shop around. It would take you a while to find a list of 50 restaurants in the entire city of London to like have a decent dinner. And that worked. It was fine, but you had to like go to the library. You had to go to a bookstore, that sort of thing. You had to really look for information. Whereas now, you have this whole generation that we've been inundated with information since we were born. Like, it's surrounded by us, and we're just like hammered with it all the time, whether it's through advertising, whether it's through like mobile apps, whether it's through all this stuff. So really, what we have to be is we're information sorters. Like, if I want to Google restaurant city of London, like, you're going to get like 50 million results. And so what we have to do, and what we've done since as early as any of us can remember, is be able to sort through what's trustworthy, what do we want to look at, and what, really just like, do we trust this source? Should I trust this source? Should I trust this source? And that's really what makes this generation different, is it really is like, it comes down to like being able to sort information quickly, but most importantly, trust. And as a brand, if you want to reach out to people, you have to become a trusted source, and it's not the easiest thing in the world. Especially when you start looking at, and you can see the reason why, because when you start looking at the wine industry, it used to be like, people read magazines, you trust the newspapers, this newspaper wrote about this wine, everybody should get it. Young people don't give a crap, like we just don't care because we don't necessarily trust the newspapers. What we do trust, and if you look at the research, it's like 78% of millennials trust their friends more than anybody else. So it's like, they want to look at their friends to see what kinds of wine they buy, because that's who they trust. Oh, my friend tried this and liked it. Okay, cool. You can read anything on the internet. Like, I'm going to go see a movie, and there's 100 different reviews. I think 10 people will say it's the best movie they've ever seen in their life, and 10 people will say it's the worst movie they've ever seen in their entire life. So how do you sort that out? How do you make it work? Well, maybe your best friend, who you like similar movies to, is like, I really like this movie. So then you decide that you might like it too. And I think it's just important to look at when you start looking at marketing to younger people. It's also interesting, coming in the United States, this is the first generation that has had equal access to wine as they have to beer and spirits. Basically since Prohibition. And you can find wine in grocery stores, you can find wine in convenience stores, you can find wine in bars, you can find wine in bad bars, like, it's everywhere. And it's only happened in the last 5 years. And it's the first time that it's happened, and we're the first people to deal with it. Only we're used to it. 5 years ago, a lot of people were just turning 21. And, I remember in college, like, we used to go to crappy bars because they had cheap beer, and it was awesome, we had fun. But they also served wine, and it was something that I saw kind of like evolve and grow. And if you look around, like every single city now has a wine bar. My family lives in the city in northern Wisconsin, northern Chicago. It's like really far up in the middle of nowhere. It's a town of 1,000 people. They have 5 bars, and one of them is a Fancy Pants wine bar. That's really awesome. And so it's really kind of expanding. But again, looking at it, like, this is the world we know. We know that any bar we can go to, we can get wine. And we know that any grocery store, any convenience store, there's going to be wine. And it's just important to know that that's really the first time that's happened. The other stat that we really looked at hard, and we didn't just like sit down and do some research. We spent 3 years giving small seminars, like 30 people at a time. I think we gave 150 of these. They became this like stand-up comedy routine where we talked about wine and entertain people, and poured wine and told stories about it. And we would do little bitty polls and whatnot. But the most fascinating thing, and the thing that really drives our business, is looking at the statistic that in the United States, this is from, I think, Constellation Brands did a report, 23% of all wine consumers, people that drink wine regularly in the United States, 23% are too overwhelmed or intimidated to buy the product. And we see this all the time with our consumers and our customers. People walk into the grocery store, they look at the wall of wine, and they say, beer looks really good right now. And it sucks, and it's really hard. You have 1/4 of the market won't even buy the product. Like, we're looking at 24 million people in the United States alone that won't purchase it. They want to. When their friends drink it, their spouse buys it, they'll drink it, they want to drink it, but they're not buying it. Which is, I think we can all agree that it's a bit of an issue. All right. So one of the really moments that drove home our business, and I'm going to tell you guys a story. I went to this wine tasting in New York, unnamed wine tasting, and it was $80 to get in. And you know, this is a trade event, but it wasn't too much like this. You know, like bright lights, big, huge hall, and it was during the day. And consumers could come, they pay $80, they run around, they drink some wine. And I was there with Morgan, my business partner, and we were standing in the back, just kind of serving it, taking it in, checking it out. And we watched these three, you know, probably 25, 27-year-olds, these three kids, not really kids, but came all the way to the back of this huge hall. And they had empty glasses. It was clear that no wine had been poured in their glasses. And they all stood around. We overheard this conversation. They were like, well, maybe we should go over there. And they pointed to, like, you know, signs that such and such importer. And some guy in a suit was like ready to pour. And then, you know, maybe we should go over here. And then, like, you know, nondescript signs, random people behind booths. And then something happened. One of the guys turned to the group and said, screw it, let's just get drunk. And it was a really sad moment because that event failed. Not those people, they didn't pay $80 to come to an event just to get drunk. Like, if you want to get drunk, you can get drunk for like $10. They came to learn something, but the event also failed the people pouring because now these people aren't going to care. You know, maybe somebody can turn them around, but they're not going to care. They're just like, cool, can I get some wine? Okay, awesome, let's drink. Let's get $80 worth. And that really kind of drove home for us, because what we wanted to do is we wanted to throw events where people could actually learn about wine, but have fun at the same time. Because you look out into these huge, brightly lit halls with no music, and guys in suits being like, oh yes, do you smell the raspberries? I don't smell the raspberries. You're like, you should smell the raspberries. They're like, I don't smell raspberries. Smell the raspberries. And like, you're looking around, you're like, how did these people take a huge room full of alcohol and make it not fun? Like, how do you screw that up? And so we were like, well, we can fix this. So, the first thing we did, we started our company basically because we had this wild, crazy idea. I took a small tax return check, we maxed out our credit cards, and we really hope people showed up. And they did. So this is Wine Riot. We threw this large event, and it's our goal to make a really fun place that people can actually learn something, novel concept, right? And so this is our Boston event. And the first thing we really wanted to do was like dim the lights a little bit. Yeah, okay, the typical wine person will be like, well, you can't really see the colors. Like, you know, you gotta win some to lose some. But what we wanted to do is make an environment that was more conducive. We felt by changing the environment, we could make people react differently to this product. You know, number one thing, people are terrified. One thing teaching our courses, we realized is nobody would ask any questions. So we planted a business partner, Morgan, in the back of these 30-person classes, and she was like the peanut gallery. And so when nobody would ask questions, she would ask really simple questions. Is wine made from grapes? And everybody would be like, oh, I don't know if wine's made from grapes. What does the date on the bottle mean? Half the room, oh, we have no idea. And so she would ask these really simple questions, and then it would get everybody else asking questions. We made it comfortable. You know, we changed the environment on a small scale, but for the big scale, we can't plant 300 people and ask questions from like the back. So the first thing we want to do is dim the lights, make it a little bit more cool, you know? And you have a bit more of an environment. We made these cool Riot letters. You know, like it's just an environment where we're gonna have some fun. Next thing was we added a DJ. Yeah, because you can't. We get asked all the time. It's usually people they're like, I'm gonna be able to age us here or whatever, but like there's like define the line for 45 to 50, and everybody over is like, why can't you just play jazz music? We're like, we don't want to play jazz music. We want to play cool music, and it's just loud enough that you can have a really fun time, but it's just low enough that you can have a conversation with the people at the event. We added a photo booth, because what do you want to do after you've been drinking? You want to put on a silly hat and get your photo taken with your friends. And, you know, there's a reason to this. Like, and so we take over 1,000 photo booth photos. It's also brilliant marketing. We say, oh, you free photos, professional photographer. You know, just give us your email address, we'll email you the link to them on Tuesday. And we get 1,000 email addresses. It works out really well. We made these these temporary wine tattoos, right? And they're real. We have a stack of them. We'll give you guys some. And they're really fun. We custom make them every single event, and you can get tattoos, and it's really funny because in the first hour, everyone's like, oh, I'll get one on my wrist. And the second hour, people are like, put it on my neck. And like, people have a lot of fun. But
stop there, please. Don't want to know what happens in the third.
We try to keep it simple. But here's the thing. Here's what we were trying to do, right? Like you could say, oh, whatever, a bunch of young people are just having fun. What we were trying to do is we're trying to change the environment. People are scared to ask questions. They think that if they don't know, they'll be laughed at. So what can we do? We can make the most silly environment possible, you know? So when you go up to a wine booth and you want to taste a Cabernet, and the guy pouring it to you has a naked mermaid holding a bottle of Dom Perignon on his neck, you're going to be like, well, this must not be a serious wine tasting. So I can ask any question I want and no one will laugh at me. And it works. It works brilliantly. Like the vendors that we work with say that they get the best questions and the most questions of any wine event that they've ever done at our event. People actually want to learn. I like stepping in and like testing it out and pouring for like a half hour or 20 minutes at booths just to see what it's like. I was pouring for Dr. Losen, a German Riesling producer, and these guys just came up to me and they were like, I didn't have my lanyard, they didn't know who I was, they didn't know I ran the event, and they were just like, all right, what are you going to teach me about German wine? Come on, try to teach me something. I know a little bit, but teach me, I dare you. And they were standing there like just being like, teach me something, we want to learn. And they were kind of like heckling me, but in a really good way. And when I taught them something, they're like, awesome, cool, got that, let's go to the next booth and learn something. And these are like, kind of like frat guy looking dudes. We also changed the signs. We made sure that the name of the country is on the sign because we've noticed that so many people don't do that. So we went the more education route rather than the less education route. When you deal with young people, and especially in the United States, 21 to 34-year-olds, they're like, I don't know, just throw them in a room with some booze and hopefully they'll remember it. And we went the complete opposite route. We said, no, we're going to just pack this thing with education. We're going to put so much wine education in here that like you can leave, you can enter, not even, we have people that enter, they don't know what the glass is for. They're like, oh, is this a gift? We're like, no, that's what you drink out of. It's cool though, like we'll figure this out. And they leave knowing a lot more about wine. They can be a lot more comfortable with the product. We have these crash course seminars, what we call them. They're 20-minute drop-in seminars, no extra charge. We have one flat ticket rate. There's never going to be a VIP area. Because the VIP area really makes you think that, oh, I don't know enough about wine to pay extra for it. So everything after you get in besides the food is like included. And you can drop into these little courses and you can take a 20-minute seminar and you can taste 3 different German Rieslings. One sweet, one dry, one kind of off dry, and learn why. You can learn about the history of Portugal, all that kind of stuff. So we have these free courses you can drop into. We launched these last year. We call them educational booths. We noticed that most wineries showed up, black tablecloth, maybe they'll put out like a little book or something. Let's pour some wine. You go to a trade convention, people have these elaborate booths, so why aren't they doing that for consumer marketing? So we called up 4 of our customers that we work with a lot, and we said, we're going to build you these booths. Because we knew that they weren't going to build them, because they probably didn't have a good way or know how. And so we started building these custom booths. We design and work with the brands and figure out how to make them. And they're really awesome. Portugal is doing this experience where you can blind taste, so they have these blinders on. But you can see we have these maps of the region. We have like food pairings, grapes. This grape comes from here. So when you're tasting the wine, you can be like, this comes from here. And it seems simple, but at consumer events, this just didn't exist. It was our goal to push other brands to do the same thing, and it's really worked. Like Austria. This year we launched a new product called the Bubbly Bar, and this is our new attempt to push brands a little bit further. And people don't, especially in the United States, people have no idea what champagne is. They think all sparkling wine is champagne. And so we wanted to break that. And so what we did is we have a bubbly bar. So we have champagne, cava, prosecco, we have German sect, we have Cremant from various parts of France. We have a bunch of different American sparkling wines, ranging from $9 a bottle to $50 a bottle. And anybody can come up and taste it, but you have to learn. And we buy this wine ourselves, and we staff this booth with our staff. And Maya is the one that we hired to run it, and her whole thing says, what she tells everybody before they pour is, everybody else here is going to try to sell you something. We're not selling anything. We have nothing to sell, actually. Instead, we're just going to talk to people and have a conversation with them. I don't have a photo of it up here, but the line for the bubbly bar is like 7, 8 people. People can't get enough of it because we're not just pitching them. We're not saying, well, here's my product and here's why you should buy it. We're saying, let me just teach you about this thing. Speaking of teaching, we have a Wine 101 station where you can learn 8 wine terms by tasting them. Do you like oaky wines? Do you like not oaky wines? Young versus mature. So we have an unoaked and an oak Chardonnay. We usually, with the young and mature booth, we usually work with like Rioja. So we'll have a Crianza and a Reserva. Mature and young. And you can taste what you like. And we give everybody like something they can fill out, and it's a slider. It's like, which one do you like more? We focus on positive. We never, ever, ever tell anybody a wine is bad, because we don't believe that. You know, we think that there's wines that you might not want to drink, you might not be right for that situation, but it's not bad. So we're trying to really enforce that, like, you're never wrong, you can't be wrong, try to figure out what you prefer.
Last couple of minutes.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll just finish up right now. The last and final thing that we really do is try to change the language of wine. And it's something, you know, like the guy with like the notes of blueberry, hints of raspberry, that sort of thing. It really feels akin to like marketing computers back in the 90s. You know, 486 processor, 32 gigahertz, you know, whatever. And like they use technical language to market a product. And, you know, really quickly I'll read you off, like, I am describing this product, the iPhone, factually. It has an 800:1 contrast ratio, 500 CD M2 max brightness, frequency response of 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz. I didn't lie. That's true, I'm describing the product. But who here even understood that besides our robot friend? Wine's the same way. I pulled this off a website for a major wine producer in the United States, and their #1 top-selling product. This wine opens with lively red fruit aromas, complemented by hints of anise, violet, and slight earthiness. What the hell does that mean? You know, who has ever walked into a wine store and said, "Excuse me, sir, could you get me a wine with hints of violet and slight earthiness?" Like, why? So why are you telling customers that that's what it tastes like? Like, that's not. Tell them what to do with it. Tell them how to use it. Last thing is, we've been really utilizing new technology. We have a mobile app that every single person can remember every single wine they try at the event. We preload every single wine. We organize it by booths. When you hit the booth, you just mark 2 thumbs up, 1 thumb up, no thumbs up. For like it, love it, or meh. You can read more about it. We even have in real time what everybody's favorite wines are at that moment on huge screens all around the venue. Because it gives people a place to start. They don't know what to try, so this gives them a place to start. We never say these are the best wines, we just say these are the most popular ones. And at our events, we get about 14,000 mobile reviews at every event. We're coming up, we're about to break 150,000 reviews in the 2 years we've been running this thing. We get about 2,600 attendees. We buy a lot of Facebook ads, so you know we found that that's where we put the bulk of our money. 2.2 million Facebook impressions. We have a new Instagram feature where if you take an Instagram photo and use #WineRiot, it automatically prints out a Polaroid and you can get it for free. We got 900 Instagram photos per event. It's really cool seeing what everybody else thinks the event looks like. And we do pretty well with the web. So basically what I'm trying to say is that as wine industry professionals, it's our job to push the industry forward. You know, it's our job to take a look at like what's new, what's different, how can I change it, how can I do, you know, we're just starting to scratch the surface. Like we came up with some random ideas, some of them worked, a lot of them haven't worked, but we keep trying, and we keep trying new things, and we keep trying different things. And I think the wine industry needs to continue to evolve, and it's our job to push it forward. So thank you.